Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Food and Beverage Unpacked. My name is Heidi, and I'm a partner manager here at ShipBob. I'm excited to sit down with some of our top partners today to talk through some tips and strategies to scaling CPG brands in 2025. So before we begin and people start to trickle in, would love to know who's in the audience. So feel free to drop your brand link, where you're calling from. Would love to see who is joining us today. And then I will also let our speakers introduce themselves and their companies in a bit. Awesome, Milwaukee. I'm calling from Chicago. And our speakers are calling from all over the place as well. So we're covering all of our ground here. Okay, North Carolina, amazing. California, Toronto. Awesome. Give it a few more minutes here. Incredible, Denver, love it. Yes, continue to drop your links. King Made Jerky, awesome. Okay, we will kick it off here. Don't be afraid, keep the chats coming, keep the questions coming as we continue this conversation, but really excited to dive into our food and beverage unpack. So I will have our speakers kind of take it away, let them introduce themselves, and we can dive into our panel questions.
Hey, Avi Moskowitz here with PDQ. I actually got into this business by virtue of having a perishable brand, a craft beer company, experienced all kinds of challenges during COVID. Today, our company, Pretty Damn Quick, runs some of the leading perishable brands, including David's Cookies, Easy Plants, Levain, and Jenny's Ice Cream. So running them end to end, starting on the product page through checkout, order management, fulfillment, and delivery.
My name is Russell. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and I'm a product marketing manager at Recharge. In my role, I focus on launching and scaling the adoption of products that help brands grow smarter and retain customers longer. And I mainly work closely with fast-growing CPG brands that help them understand how to drive more retention and also how to acquire more subscribers.
Hey everyone, my name is Corey Hebert. I'm a product trainer with Cin7. We are a cloud-based inventory management system. We integrate with third-party applications to help our customers sell more of their products and focus more on the growth of their business.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. So with that being said, would love to dive into some of these exciting questions. So let's get into it. We know running a food and beverage brand is not easy. So brand owners have to think about a lot, everything from managing short shelf lives to high SKU complexity and everything in between. So given this complexity, what are some of the most impactful steps food and beverage brands can take now to protect their margins and prepare for longer term stability? Let's start with you, Avi.
Hi, thanks. So there's so much you can do on the perishable side when you think about protecting margins. It starts with segmenting customers, personalizing checkout, understanding first time versus returning customers. A customer who never experienced delivery from you before may need more information, very specific information, especially if it's a gift or something that's timely. Evaluating the volumetrics of the box, dry ice, and what goes into the box, being able to formulate an accurate delivery promise. So in checkout, being able to indicate when they're going to get it, hopefully having that calendar in checkout linked back to your production capabilities, like what we do at some of our brands. And then prioritize SKUs based on contribution margins. You know, run a contribution margin analysis by SKU and remove the bottom 20%, is one good practical thing you can do for those low velocity and high spoilage risk SKUs.
Awesome. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, it all starts with operational flexibility and smarter fulfillment, right? You know, your fulfillment partner should offer advanced inventory management capabilities like lot tracking, FIFO, compliance protocols with GMP and GFSI. So a lot of these are almost nearly impossible to do manually. So automation is the key to scaling effectively. And especially for long-term stability, strategic inventory placement is critical. So having your inventory across multiple locations. Let's go to you, Recharge.
I may be biased here, coming from a subscription company, but I definitely think subscriptions can be a game changer when it comes to long-term stability. I think especially in the food and beverage space where products like coffee, energy drinks are consumed regularly or even daily. When you have people coming back on a regular cadence, whether it's every week, 2 weeks, or a month, you can start to predict demand a little bit more accurately. And that's huge when like you're working with products that have a shorter shelf life or even a bunch of SKUs. So instead of like overproducing and hoping it sells, you actually kind of know what's coming down the pipeline. And that means less waste and better inventory planning. I think another thing food and beverage brands can do for long-term stability, and what we're seeing a lot of recharge subscription brands do, is take control of their margins, right? Margins are really important. One thing that a lot of brands can do is kind of A/B test their subscribe and save discounts. So those who are on subscriptions already, what we're seeing is them A/B testing, say a 15% versus a 20% discount to see how it affects subscription opt-ins on their P2P and revenue. And also a lot of our merchants are experimenting with different loyalty incentives. Instead of giving discounts away, a lot of them are giving, say, in-store credits, just to make sure that those margins are tight and that they're not giving away too much.
Awesome. Thank you, Russell. And Corey?
Yeah, I think one way customers can reduce their loss or any wasted products can really help with their margins. And that can be accomplished many different ways. But when it comes to reordering products and dialing in the amount of inventory you need, not only looking back at past data, but using a predictive tool to help you determine what's coming down the road can really help, make the proper planning to order the right amount of inventory so that you're not only worrying about running out of stock, but you're also able to protect yourself from ordering too much, which not only could hurt you when it comes to perishable products, but of course that's also going to be hurting your cash flow as well. So dialing in that reorder process can be really beneficial.
Absolutely. That's the perfect segue to my next question, actually, about leveraging data to make smarter decisions. So how do you guys think food and beverage brand owners and operators can leverage data to make smarter decisions? And do you have any specific tools or strategies you'd recommend they implement now before peak season? Because we know that is coming up quickly. Russell, let's start with you this time. What do you think?
I think for all the food and beverage brand owners that are here, one thing that they could do is they could dig into their data to analyze churn and retention by product. So they should investigate which SKUs have the highest lifetime value, and then also when and why those subscribers tend to churn. Is it after month 1, after month 2, after month 3? And then double down on marketing on those high LTV products, and then use those products and say like win back campaigns and retention efforts within those churn windows. I think another thing brands can do ahead of peak season is it's a chance to maybe like get rid of their slower moving products, right? Earlier we talked about like managing short shelf lives and then high SKU counts. I think something like bundling is where that could come in, where brands could consider combining slow moving or seasonal items with their best selling high retention SKUs. That's something that we see a lot of recharge merchants do to reduce their dead stock inventory during those dead seasons, while also helping increase their AOV at the same time. Another point on that is we also see a lot of merchants use bundles, and then also a lot of our recharge brands actually put those slow-moving dead stock items in their post-purchase offers. So they'll give them a slight discount on that product and present right after checkout, and a lot of times it becomes like a no-brainer for them.
Super helpful. Thank you so much. And Avi, what do you think?
Yeah, building on what Russell said, I would say test, right? So not just high LTV products, but I think everything, especially going into BFCM, there's so much that we don't know until we test it. Even if the test helps us understand what doesn't work, it puts us in a much stronger position to identify those things that do work, like what shipping options should be presented. Is there time sensitivity on shipping, price sensitivity? Which options should be there? Even things like days of the week, being able to differentiate your options based on the days of the week. If you know that fulfillment is not going to happen for orders that come in after 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock on Friday, you're able to change the messaging so that you can still give the customer the kind of messaging that gives them the confidence they're looking for with accuracy. Because at the end of the day, a big part of what data enables us to do, and that's one of the advantages of e-commerce over retail. Customer walks into a retail store, very little we know about them. Customer comes into an e-commerce store, we have a lot of information. And once you start differentiating between first timers, returning, third time, fourth time, and as Russell said, even fifth time customers, you're able to personalize the journey for them and maximize profit for every checkout. And at the end of the day, that's what data is meant to do. Data drives profitability, and there's so many ways that you can do that if you embrace testing across the entire funnel, especially within checkout.
Absolutely. It gives you that competitive edge, especially ahead of peak. So understand that entirely. When we think about fulfillment, we especially want to get that competitive edge by leveraging fulfillment and inventory data. And that just allows you to plan more proactively, especially in the unpredictable times that we're in right now. We don't know what's going to change with the ongoing tariff impacts. But when we look at data like inventory turnover, days of inventory on hand, shipping costs per zone, and order accuracy rates, this allows brands before peak to use these insights to identify best performing fulfillment centers. You can monitor SKUs that maybe aren't performing as well, and then of course plan for replenishment cycles more accurately. So if you don't have the history and the data to look back on, you should really look into start doing that now so you can provide visibility into those metrics for your brands. What about you, Corey?
Yeah, I think when it comes to inventory management, one thing we like to talk about at Cin7 is having real-time visibility into your data, so you can make informed decisions based on the best possible data that you can get. As terms of tools, one thing that I think is really important is when it comes to low inventory notifications, for example, not only simply looking at the amount of inventory you have, but more importantly, what does your sales volume look like? What does your lead time look like as well? And factoring all of those into the equation so that you can make the appropriate decisions when reordering a product. And then, as I mentioned before, not only looking back at past data, but using predictive technology like artificial intelligence to help you determine what's coming up. Because as we know, you're going to sell more in the peak season than you are in the off seasons. So simply using a tool that Cin7 offers, Foresight AI, for example, and the tool we launched not too long ago, is going to empower sellers to get that information at their fingertips.
Awesome. Yeah, really helpful tools here. Thank you guys so much. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go on, but really great tidbits before peak here. Okay, another fun question for us. Virality is a very hot topic. So would love to kind of talk about brands who face viral spikes, whether that be on social media platforms, TV appearances, etc. What's your advice for maintaining that high quality experience, especially when your brand is under pressure and they need to deliver on those viral spikes? We can start with you, Corey, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think tracking the suppliers that offer that product that you can purchase that product from is going to be important. When you see that big spike, you may not be able to go to that same supplier, but of course you're going to have to worry about quality control at that point. So having that groundwork done ahead of time so that if you ever get into that situation, that can be really beneficial. But I think also it's important to note that today's consumers are not in the same place that they once were. We're seeing TikTok shops and Instagram reels and things like that where we can find customers in the market. and not so much, relying on linear television, for example. So I think all those things can be super important here.
Awesome. And Russell?
Yeah, I feel like viral moments in particular can bring obviously a huge influx of new customers. But I feel like your most loyal subscribers and most loyal customers are still at the core of your revenue. So I think number one thing is like make sure they're protected first, whether that's holding inventory for them, giving them early access to those hot items, or even pausing acquisition campaigns until you're caught up, because those are your most important customers who are going to be bringing sustainable revenue back to your business. Second, I think communication is like super important. So if there's going to be a delay, a stock out, don't wait for a support ticket. You should proactively email and then text those customers and be empathetic with them and let them know ahead of time. And I think customers are really going to value that type of communication because they'll build trust and build a stronger relationship with them. Also, I think if your operations are strained, it's time to simplify maybe a little bit. Reduce the number of available SKUs temporarily or throttle new subscription signups, especially if you can't guarantee fulfillment windows. Viral growth is great, but if you can get back at it, viral growth is only good if you can get back at it with consistent delivery and customer care, I feel like.
Definitely. Avi, what do you think?
Yeah, I would build on what Russell had to say in terms of definitely managing your stock effectively, and setting customer expectations intelligently. So for us, we put a lot of energy into making an accurate delivery promise that's data-driven. So you're able to use geo-aware. We understand that customers that are close in proximity to where the inventory is, we can make an aggressive delivery promise, others less so, but especially when there's a lot of volume, and we experience this with every one of our brands at some point during the course of the year, you just want to make sure that there's fallback messaging, and we're able to do that automatically based on throttling of how much of a backload there is in fulfillment, for example. So start communicating the delivery promise in a much more accurate way so you set the expectation. And then, of course, once the order comes in, we do tracking so that the customer can be proactively communicated with and say, really sorry, the order is going to be delayed. When you can't imagine the impact that you make with a customer when you proactively reach out and say, sorry, we're going to be a bit late. Here's a coupon. And it actually drives LTV. There are so many metrics that little communication has, even when things go wrong. And there's an argument, and we've done studies on this as well, that when things go wrong, you have an opportunity to even further cement your relationship with the customer that you wouldn't normally have otherwise. That's there. So there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, when you have viral marketing and messaging, that's an opportunity to take those customers, convert them into long-term customers, show them what a great experience is, and have them keep coming back.
Absolutely. And viral moments are only exciting they're exciting, but they're only exciting if you can actually deliver on them. So having a proactive plan in place is huge. For us, it's very similar. I think with the distributed fulfillment, like I mentioned before, brands can kind of maintain that level of consistency and a fast delivery experience by shipping from the closest warehouse to the customer. So during those volume spikes, you can throttle order volume across sites, or even prioritize inventory by channel to make sure you're optimizing on the high margin channels and that they're protected. Just in a quick example of this, one of our brands, Beach Waver, who you guys might have seen on TikTok a couple of times, they use our warehouse management system in their own warehouses, but they send inventory to ShipBob fulfillment centers during the holidays. And this is really just to take advantage of the additional space and avoid having to hire temporary workers. So just wanted to provide some context there.
I think the key there is transparency, right? The more you're transparent with your customers, the better off you are.
Absolutely. Amen. Okay. And the second to last question here. What is one trend in food and beverage that you think brands must prepare for this year, and how can they take action today? Avi, do you want to start with you? What do you think?
Sure. Look, we've seen what Amazon's done in terms of setting a customer expectation of Amazon-like experience, the precision, they make a promise. The moment you get to their site, everything is clearly spelled out, and that converts into significant conversion for them. They're using the tools, they're using their data. We see AI-powered checkout personalization, having the experience personalized for every customer based on segmentation, first time returning. You can use segmentation rules based on cart value, location, purchase frequency, LTV, even CAC payback windows. You can do quite a bit to personalize the customer experience at checkout, which is the moment of truth. That's that final place. We know there's, unfortunately, a $270 billion problem in checkout because of abandons. And most of that comes because they're lacking the trust and confidence needed to get them over the finish line. And you're able to really optimize for that by leveraging the latest tools available, and they're out there.
Absolutely. And Corey?
Yeah, I think customers want visibility. That could be visibility into the ingredients of a product, for example, but also into that order process. Where is their order in the fulfillment stage? Have they gotten tracking? I think, anytime we can give customers more information about, their products or the process that their order is in, I think we can, eliminate any anxiety that they might have, eliminate their need to reach out to customer support or anything like that, and increase the overall customer experience.
Definitely. Russell?
Yeah, I think Corey and Abby both touched on this, but I think one thing every food and beverage brand needs to kind of prepare for, and what's going to be on the rise, is definitely like more AI and more AI powered customer experiences, especially when it comes to subscriptions. I feel like AI is obviously the big elephant in the room, and it's showing up in nearly every part of e-commerce, and customers are starting to expect a higher level of ease and responsiveness when like managing and purchasing those, because they know this technology exists and they know companies are working on it. At Recharge, we've seen that subscription management, for example, is simple and personal, and custom. At Recharge, sorry, my bad. At Recharge, we've seen that when customers have a simple and personal subscription management experience, they tend to stick around a lot longer. And I feel like that's because traditionally when managing a subscription, it's been frustrating at times. Sometimes it's too rigid, too inflexible. But when customers feel locked in a schedule and it doesn't fit their need because they end up with too much product or they want to cancel, they might churn. But when it's easy to make quick adjustments like skip a shipment, swap a product, or delay an order, they're far more likely to stay subscribed and keep engaging with your brand. At Recharge, we recently released something called our AI-powered Concierge SMS product, which allows customers to manage their subscriptions directly from their fingertips on their phones. So that's letting customers skip, swap, delay, and much more just by texting. And it feels natural and conversational, like you're talking to a real person and not like a bot. And so far, a lot of our merchants that are using Concierge SMS, the customers that interact with subscriptions via Concierge have a 30% higher lifetime value than those who don't. So that's huge. And of course, AI-powered tools like that are going to be becoming the future of e-commerce and be everywhere. And I'm proud to be a part of a place that's kind of at the forefront of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We actually have a question from Pam in the chat. It says, any advice on converting regular customers into subscriptions? Russell, I can start with you on.
Yeah, I was going to touch on this a little bit later, but I feel like the number one thing you can do to convert regular customers into subscriptions is maximizing every part of the customer journey. So there's many places that are high intent that you can work subscriptions in. There's the PDP page, there's the cart, and then there's the checkout, and even the post-purchase. On the PDP, I would recommend having subscriptions first above a one-time order. We're seeing merchants at Recharge that do that, have subscriptions first and one time under. They're converting 4 times more than those who have one time first. Another thing you can do is you can have cart upsells or subscription upsells in your cart. So if you buy a one-time purchase, when they click on the cart, there's an option to upgrade to subscription. And you can also have that in the checkout and other places as well. And we're seeing a lot of brands that are converting a lot more subscribers by leveraging those type of tools at Recharge.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Keep the questions coming. We love to see it. But getting back to Avi's point, I think ShipBob is similar in a sense. We're seeing personalized experiences be really at the forefront for a lot of our shoppers. So when it comes to incorporating that into fulfillment, we can look at that on a few different levels. Custom packaging is huge. So creating that unforgettable unboxing experience with custom boxes, marketing inserts, gift notes. Our customers, Bloom Nutrition, do a great job with their packaging. So go place an order with them and see how we're fulfilling for them. But that also just adds to the virality of everything, right? Like when a customer has a package show up to their doorstep and it's that unforgettable experience, folks are, Snapchatting it, they're putting it on TikTok, they're loving that moment. So it just helps to generate that for their influencer program as well. Perfect. Awesome. We will move on. One fun question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to food and beverage operators navigating the rest of this year? Who wants to take this one first?
I can jump in here. I think it's important to start planning now. We know that season's coming up, but when you look at your lead times, when you look at what goes into demand planning and forecasting, it's important to get started sooner rather than later. So use those forecasting tools, identify the order volume that you're expecting, but also where are those customers located? I know, Heidi, you mentioned ShipBob has many locations. That's going to be really important to put that product in the locations where those customers live so that you can get the product to them quicker and, of course, also cheaper for you as well.
Definitely. And Avi?
Sure. I would go back to testing. This is an incredible opportunity to really move the needle by learning those things and understanding the things that can make the biggest impact. So we found that brands that run as few as 6 tests before BFCM can see as much as $1 million uplift in annualized uplift without increasing spend or launching new products, just by increasing conversion with all the things that we've been talking about. So there's a lot of opportunity and still some time to get.
Absolutely. Perfect. Russell?
Hamas, but if I had one piece of advice, it would be to optimize your customer journey for subscriber growth. At Recharge, we're seeing that subscribers on average are worth 3 times more in terms of LTV than non-subscribers. Even for some brands with some engaged subscribers, some of them are worth 21x their non-subscribers, which is insane. So finding smart, low friction ways to turn those one buyers into subscribers can make a huge difference for sustainable for sustainable recurring revenue. And that means like meeting those customers where they are, right? Highlighting subscriptions predominantly in places like the product page, and then upsells, like I mentioned, at the cart and checkout, and any other place you can highlight it will go huge into turning those one-time buyers into long-term subscribers.
Awesome. Perfect. And I would say a piece of advice from ShipBob, and you'll probably hear this from other companies as well, but just elevate your customer experience and not just deliver it. So using fulfillment to do so is huge. Shoppers expect fast, premium, and reliable services, and they don't really want to think about how their order got from the checkout page to their door. They just want to ensure that it got there quickly and in a great way. So the most successful brands we work with use fulfillment not just to meet expectations, but to exceed them, so their customers don't think twice about it. Especially during peak. So that is my little tidbit of advice. And that ends our panel discussion here in Food and Beverage Unpacked. Thank you all so much for attending, and thank you to our speakers for joining today. We're so happy to have you here, and it was very insightful. So we appreciate you and your partnership. Feel free to drop your email in the chat so the audience can get in touch. And this webinar is, of course, recorded and will land in your inbox tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.